right. Good evening, everybody. It's 6:30, so we will go ahead and get started. Do we have any, I guess to get started, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. That's the first time we've done it like that.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay. Raise your right hand.
You really threw us off. There is a new sheriff freaking in charge here tonight.
All those opposed? Oh, okay. Agenda passes. Open forum, do we have anyone sign up for open forum? Okay. Consent agenda. So on the consent agenda, all we have this month is the board minutes. Are there any questions or corrections to the minutes?
Mark, we probably need to approve the agenda itself. We need to approve the agenda itself, Mark.
The consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the
Approve
consent
the
agenda?
agenda.
We just did that, I thought.
I move.
Do I have a second to approve the consent agenda?
I'll approve. Or second.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. In that is the minutes. Are there any comments on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. All those opposed? Okay. Approval of transfer and payment of bills. Are there any items on there that anyone had any questions about? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills?
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
You have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Reports. Elementary report.
Good evening, everyone. The first thing I just wanted to highlight from the board report that I sent to you all was our current enrollment is at 280 still, which is the same as the beginning of this year, but it's actually up from 269 was our current enrollment around this time last year. So we're seeing quite the trend in the right direction there as far as enrollment. We have lost some families, but gained the same amount, leaving us at that 280 since the beginning of the year. So it's been pretty consistent so far. Celebrations, we're still seeing a ton of positive office referrals come through. Our PTO Fall Festival and Silent Auction were very successful, and we would just also like to thank not only the PTO but also our community partners who came out and were a part of the fall parade. It was a really good time and kids enjoyed it, so it's always nice to have that partnership within our community, so we want to say thank you for that. Culture, still enjoying welcoming families into our building for all of the fall festivities that have happened so far. One of our favorites so far was the Fall Title I Mass Reader Night, which was a new title event for this fall. Usually we do minute to win it games, but we had heard a lot of good feedback from that mass reader event. The kids were really excited to see who was behind the mass reading the books, so that was a lot of fun. We appreciate everybody coming out for that. Instruction, just a couple things I wanted to highlight. As we're diving into map item analysis, the main two things that we're noticing is the depth of knowledge level. In the past, we just hadn't been diving as deep and kind of been on the surface level. So we're working together during grade level team meetings to make sure we're really hitting the depth of knowledge that students will be tested at the state level. But the other thing we noticed is some of the verbiage that they're using when they give us sample stems are just a bit different than what we were doing in the classroom. So we're just gonna adjust our instruction to make sure that we're hitting both of those verbiages so that when they come across the phrase that they're not familiar with currently looking at our data, they will be when they get to the math test this year. So we're excited to see how much growth that will bring as we continue to dive deeper into those different items and different questions that the math test asked. Also, I just wanted to highlight Whitley Milton. She's been here from before for the elementary from MURPDC. Will be joining us again on December 3rd. And so ahead of time, classroom teachers will kind of send her some goals that they're working on within their classrooms, and then she'll help just observe classrooms and then meet with them afterwards and actually kind of help them meet that goal and talk about what supports they need to help them reach any goal they may have in their classroom instructionally. So I think that's really great. Then the last item I wanted to point out is you have classroom SMART goals for the remainder of the semester attached with your packets too. Grade levels and teachers worked really hard to come up with those based on our current data to help our students achieve further. All of those will also be posted outside of their classrooms along with their progress towards that goal. And we'll, at the end of semester, then choose new goals for the upcoming semester based on the progress that we made. So they can keep that goal and just phrase where they hope to be for the second semester, or they may change it if the students have accomplished that goal completely. And then just wanted to point out attendance too. We're averaging since the beginning of the school year about 94% on average per week. We would love to see that 95%. So we'll continue to come up with incentives that will incentivize students to be here on a daily basis. Are there any questions?
I have a question and a couple comments.
Sure.
What is MURPDC?
So that is the Missouri department, which they host several different things. So they can help us with anything from PBIS skills to they help us through MLDS as leaders or growing leaders. They will help us with math. They will help us with reading. Pretty much anything that you can think of that we might, any focus area that we might need support in, they will come in and they have consultants. So there are different consultants in each of their expertise areas, if you will, and they can come and work with us on those.
So is it like a DESE department or like MU, like University
It's
of Missouri?
MU, so
Okay.
yes, it's
Okay.
through the University of Missouri.
Okay.
So, and the PBIS department is new this year, so they're working on expanding that and just supporting schools in any way they can, so they'll come work with our teachers. Like I said, Whitley Milton this time, last time she just worked with our staff during their grade level team meetings, but this time, she's actually gonna get into classrooms, so we're super excited to have her there to support teachers, you know, in that role, where we don't have an instructional coach right now. It's just a good way for them to get feedback and information from someone who's not an evaluator, which is really a major piece of that instructional coach role, just to bounce ideas so that they don't feel like they're going to their evaluator for those types of questions.
And then my comments are, I really like these goals, just because I feel like that's probably a challenge for the teachers to kind of firm up what they should choose as goals, but like I feel like making them tangible like that is more attainable then, because then they've got something to focus towards. So I think that's pretty cool. And then lastly, I was going to say, if you didn't make it to the Masked Reader event, you missed out, because it was absolutely hilarious, and I've never seen so many kids screaming in joy over something so ridiculous. It was pretty good. Very well done.
It was very fun, and our awesome title teachers, Melanie Bryant and Beth Bloom, worked really hard to organize that event. They did a good job of just getting everything ready, all the prep work to make that night successful. But it was a really fun night, and we really enjoyed switching it up a bit and getting the kids excited about reading and just being here in times that they don't have to be. So that's something we always want to encourage too, is this is a place for them to learn and grow even outside of the school day. So we're super excited about that. Any other questions?
I agree with Mark with regards to the SMART goals with the teachers doing it and pairing them with our testing, whatever situations we want to improve. That's good. That's great that you're moving toward a data-driven process that's going to go ahead and increase our achievement, our academic achievement. We have to look at it that way. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate all their hard work and thought that they put
Yeah, I
into
appreciate
these
them
goals.
doing it too.
Yeah.
Right? That's,
Yeah.
right. They're the ones doing it. I get it, but like.
They work very hard, and I'm very proud, and they're really thinking about how they want to represent that data outside their classroom. So I saw some really cool ideas so far, so I'm really proud of them for that, and also getting the kids hyped up and involved in seeing that progress outside of their classrooms has really been awesome. So thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, athletics. Mr. Minix.
All right, well, great to see you all this evening. I know I submitted my report to you, and it's pretty detailed. I don't want to go line by line, but I definitely do want to touch on the highlights as well as some of our celebrations. We had a very successful fall season overall. Our volleyball program at the middle school level, we had our sixth graders added to that program this year, and obviously there's some things that we definitely want to refine with that process for next year. But overall, we saw a lot of growth and improvement in each one of the kids, and I think there were definitely some great things that happened in that program. Football, it was our first varsity season, which was super exciting. We had our first varsity win this season, which was super exciting. We had some great kids that were part of that program. We are going to lose 5 seniors, which we're sad to see go, but we definitely saw improvement throughout the course of the season. I did include our all-conference students, but those cannot be released, and so I just wanted to show you because I won't see you for a while, but until Tipton and Harrisburg are done playing in postseason, so at least 2 more weeks until that is all released. Also, all district nominations are due December 13th, as well as all-state and academic all-state for football. And so, hopefully we'll have a few more kids in each one of those categories, and those will be released when that time comes. High school volleyball had an incredible season. So as far back as Misha allows us to go, we had the highest winning percentage ever, right? And so we had a pretty successful season. We beat some teams that we have never beat ever in the program's history. We were also very competitive with a lot of Class 3, Class 4, and Class 5 schools, some of which we beat or we at least split with. And so it went very well. We also won the first ever all-conference championship in volleyball and had several honors that were given at the end of the season. Coach Russell's done an amazing job with that program. She's also looking forward to doing some great things this summer. And so she, kicked it off with several of the coaches in our conference. They're already talking about some great plans for the summer and creating some things that are, I think, just going to elevate our high school's kids' experience in that program. In that, we had several kids get some accolades. All conference, we had first team MVP Vivian Baker, and also first team Carly Grant. Second team, we had Allie Russell, Nicole Grauner, and Lydia Kleffner, with an honorable mention, Harley Kleva. I just want to shout out Harley. She is an incredible athlete that had a lot going for the season, and she unfortunately got injured and still, she was on the bench cheering her teammates on. Everything that you ask a upperclassman to do in a program, she did. And so I definitely want to shout her out for her attitude and just what she did for the program. All district and first team MVP again, Vivian Baker and Nicole Grellner was also on first team. And we had second team Allie Russell and Carly Brandt, and honorable mention again, Harley Kleva. We had two kids, Vivian Baker and Nicole Grellner, that were nominated for All-State. Unfortunately, they did not receive that accolade, but they're definitely very high in consideration for that award. And I can't say who yet, but one of our volleyball players will also be recognized in Rod Smith's Show Me Sports magazine for being one of the top players in the area. And so, pretty exciting stuff. Softball, again, had a great season. They finished 23-6. They had a tough schedule this year. They had a lot of teams that they played that made it to the Final Four or won state and beat them, right? And so it was a lot of fun to watch them. They also won the first ever Central State 8 conference title and won their second consecutive district title, as well as making it back to the Final Four. And in the first game, they lost in 8 innings to the team that eventually won state. And so very great, very big accomplishment. We saw a lot of growth, a lot of great attitudes, and they're just a lot of fun to watch, right? They're great kids who work extremely hard, and you know, we have a couple of kids that we're going to see go this year, which is really sad, but we have a lot of really great kids coming up too. Bear with me on this one because this is a lot of awards for them. All conference, we had Sophie Voss, and she also got conference pitcher of the year. Ava Warren was also on first team. Hannah Hackman was also on first team. Ellie Dudenheffer was also on first team and received conference defensive player of the year. Kenzie Hackman was on first team. Emma Starkey was on first team. Second team, we had Kylie Peters and Emma Monette. All district, first team, we had Sophie Voss, Hannah Hackman, Ellie Dudenheffer, Kenzie Hackman, Ava Warren, and Emma Starkey. And we also had second team, Emma Monette and Kylie Peters. All region first team, we had Sophie Voss, Hannah Hackman, Ellie Dudenheffer, Kenzie Hackman, Emma Starkey, and then we had 2 players get all states accolades, which is phenomenal. So Sophie Voss for pitching and Kenzie Hackman as at-large. Cross country also had a great season this year. We had 2 full teams for both men's and women's cross country, which is very, very exciting. We also had two of our underclassmen, 2 freshmen, compete at state, which was super exciting, and you know, very bright future for those 2 kids, as well as the rest of the team. The rest of the team did a great job competing all season. Our girls finished second in our all conference invitational, as well as they got third in our own Lynn Invitational and first in the Vienna Classic. And so all conference for cross country, we had Jen Haslog and Charlie Langer, as well as those 2 got all district. So again, very exciting to watch. Just a preview of our winter sports. Our women's basketball jamboree is going on right now. I only got to watch the very first game against Richland, but they'll be competing against Capital City and Herman tonight. On our high school girls basketball team, we'll have 11, and so with that we'll be able to play varsity and half JV games when other teams have JV. Our men's basketball, we increased our numbers quite a bit there. We had 20 participants this year, and so we will be able to play full varsity, JV, and half C games, except for some standalone where we're going to have full C games. And so just trying to get them as much competition as possible. With our middle school boys and girls basketball, we opened that up to 6th grade as well, and our numbers for girls basketball skyrocketed, so we actually have 19 on that team, and so for the first time since I've been here, we've been able to play 2 full games, and of course, we're running into a lot of the other schools don't have 2 full teams, and so when we can, we definitely compete in both those games, and then our boys are playing 1.5 games as we go. Yeah, so, sorry, there's something I was thinking if I wanted to say and I am not going to. So we're just excited to see, you know, how those teams compete. So our girls actually were 2 points away from winning or going to the consolation game tomorrow, but both of our teams got knocked out of the Harrisburg tournament, which is a very tough tournament to compete in. Just a couple of facility updates I didn't have on the initial board report that I sent you, but thank you to Mid-America Bank. They have helped us secure a new scoreboard for both softball and baseball for that field. We are currently working on finalizing those designs so that can be ordered, and then we will hopefully complete that project this winter and get that up and running for baseball in the spring. And so we're super excited to have a consistently functional scoreboard, which is very exciting and not giving me panic attacks climbing up on a scoreboard right before games. And so thank you to the American Bank. The other thing that was completed yesterday actually was the irrigation for the baseball and softball field. With that, they also put in a booster pump, and so one of the issues from the original installation of the irrigation system on the football field were those zones were actually not overlapping like they should, and also not providing water at the base of each one of those heads. That has all been fixed yesterday with the wind blowing like it was. it was still covering both sides. And so it was super exciting to watch, and then when it was with the wind, it was shooting it about 40 yards down the field. So that was pretty cool to watch. The other thing that is super exciting is that both of those fields can be run at the same exact time with no pressure issues whatsoever. You can also control that with a controller that they installed from anywhere. The other very exciting thing with that is it is also going to be much more efficient than it has in the past. So that controller actually watches what the weather is doing and will adjust based on the weather. So if it knows it's going to rain or there's rain in the forecast strongly, it will actually reduce the amount of water that's being put out. If it's dry, it'll shoot it out and monitor all that stuff. So obviously I got a very brief preview yesterday, but it's exciting just to see, just the improvement that's going to happen with that system. So that's it, unless you have any questions for me. Sorry, I think that went longer than I initially planned, but lots of really good celebrations, and anytime we can celebrate kids, I definitely want to do that.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, student representatives.
Are you guys gonna start with a song and dance number, or you could sing first, dance afterwards, whichever.
Figure out the choreography.
All right, good deal.
I haven't practiced my puree enough.
So good evening. Thank you for allowing us to include information in your packets about what students are doing at Lynn High School. We are Faith Haley and we're happy to answer any questions the best we can about activities that have happened at school since the beginning of student council.
A few highlights have been the first ever fall homecoming. The football team ended with a loss, but we had a great week leading up to it. Really good turnout to the dance. I was there personally. There was plenty of people. I think we all had a good time. It was all controlled. It ended up being a really good time. To go along with the football, we moved our annual powder puff to the end of the season instead of the end of the year. That was also another really good turnout. We had a canned food drive to get into the game and/or donations. We're donated a massive tub of all the food and stuff for the food pantry, and the cash that was made was spent on other supplies for the food pantry.
It was great supporting our sports teams this fall, from cheering them on at games to gearing them up for district and state appearances. We are very excited about the winter season getting started, and we will be going to all of those things.
Coming up, we're gearing up for Christmas break and the winter court warming, which will include the basketball game on January 24th and the dance the next evening. And thanks again for having us.
Are there any questions?
I had comments from other school districts about our student section, so great job, guys. There was a couple of times when folks that were visiting said, I thought you guys were ahead because of how loud your student section was. They were confused, and they're like, y'all just kept cheering all the way through the game. I know our players appreciated that regardless of which sport they were playing.
Absolutely.
Good job.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Thank you.
The powder
Thanks.
puff game was fun too.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
Good to hear.
Maintenance report, Mr. Cliff.
Good evening. Not too much to talk about. My cane falling, but I'll get that in a second. Staffing is good. We, besides the event custodian that we haven't got yet, everything else seems to be going good. As far as routine maintenance, we're just doing basic maintenance and keeping the building up and grounds the best we can. As far as unscheduled maintenance, we did have an HRU1, which is the diking system in the elementary that failed on us. This time it was just a blower motor in the elementary office, which basically threw a bunch of alarms and shut half the system down as it usually does. But that was fixed, and that was actually, the parts on that were under warranty, so we got that taken care of. 2 units in the high school had to be repaired, but that was just a refrigerant leak, so that was a pretty quick fix. As far as our shop, all equipment is working good, in working order, no issues there. Contracted services and projects, we installed a little bit of kitchen equipment, which a freezer, a pretty big cooler, and 2 cold bars that we got installed. As far as grounds, just routine maintenance, you know, getting everything ready for winter. We see what we needed, if we need to do a final cut or not, but I think we might be okay. Future projects, I'm just working on stuff with bond and all the contracts and stuff, trying to get all that in line. They asked for information, we provided. So, and then we do want to bring up today, we did have another issue with HRU 1. We had another compressor failure, which is going to be a pretty substantial amount. I do have the bid I don't have the bid yet, but I have the one, what it cost us last time. If anybody's interested in seeing what's going to be in the future. So they're going to get us a bid on that, and we'll go from there. Something that basically it's just going to, they said it's a chain reaction once one fails.
Oh.
And each one of those units has 3 compressors, and how many units do we have?
You've got this one over here, HUR 1, 2, 3, I want to say 4. Oh, plus the one in the board office.
In part of our planning for the new building and extending our current high school's HVAC, we are going with a much more simplistic system that is far lower maintenance cost, far easier to maintain. It's better in every single way. Now, it doesn't have the customization that Daikin units offer with, you know, so much control, but we around $20,000 a compressor, 15 to 20?
For the compressor unit, no, it'll be probably around 8.
8? Okay.
But
8
just-
times 3, 24, I think that's where I was getting at, but we're going with a much more reliable, easily maintained, serviced, and kept system.
Something that is accessible and that isn't priority to a certain brand where I can't put a set of gauges on these. I can't look and see anything. You have to have an actual interface to hook to the computer, and then it'll tell you everything, which you can't get unless you're a dealer. So,
Sure.
so I'm in the dark. Only thing it can tell me is it'll flash a code saying, look at this number, and I'll go in the book and go, oh, I need to call somebody for that. So these other ones, maybe, you know, just I can actually do some maintenance on the newer ones. At the high school, you can work on those. You can do stuff with them. You don't have to call a certain person to come down and check it out. So kind of looking forward to moving away from that if possible. Other than that, everything seems to be going okay. Just this last Daikin issue that's going to hit us pretty hard, but I don't have much choice on that. So. Any other questions?
Thank you.
From
Okay. Superintendent's report?
Awesome. I included a lot of information. I'm gonna hit the highlights. If you'd like me to speak to anything in particular, please let me know. First section, I'm glad that we had our student council representatives here to speak with us. We did have a really good year, and I think our student culture and climate has just been really positive this year. That's good. Really appreciate shout out to Park City, to Matt McCoy and our PTO, because when we were out water this week, he was the first one to call and say, I've got a truck and I can go get you some pallets of water. What can I do for you, Bob? I think that's great. Heading into the holiday season, which of course there's always a festive atmosphere. I sent all of you an invitation today. We'll of course have a luncheon the last day of semester 1 for all staff, and that'll be fun and festive. You guys are welcome to come. We'd love to have you. But Amanda and I also host an event each year at our house We're at just under 60 now from the time I emailed you earlier. That's gonna close tomorrow. We're anticipating somewhere between 70, 80, and 80 folks at the house. We would love to have you. I did send an invitation and RSVP to your email. Personnel and staffing, we did have 3 instructional coach applications. I'm meeting with Ms. Higginbotham and Ms. Sassman to begin the process to create a job description and move forward with a potential selection. I did include quite a bit of information. Honestly, this just arrived through our Central State 8 email system, where we had consolidated our base salaries, our salary grants, our levy. So I wanted to pass that along to you guys of particular importance. We're tied for the middle as far as base salary. We're behind the average in tax levy and benefits. So next year that will continue to be a focus for us. Monitoring to see if we get any applications over the holidays, hoping to catch some semester 1 graduates there from the teaching field and certification programs. We did attend OSBA's regional meeting. We have had 2 years of 0 increase. I do not anticipate us having another year of 0% increase. If I had to guess, it would probably be 2 or 3 percentage points. To give you an idea, to cover that, it would probably cost $15 or $20 more a month per payee every year, or every month through the year in the district. That will be a part of my proposal in the budget, and so we'll make the decision whether we want to prioritize that or not. But I do recommend that we direct the vast majority of anything that we do to payroll and benefits. Professional development, talked a little bit about MU's RPDC. They are a support mechanism and are focused on instruction and just holistically school environments in general. So we're aligning what we're doing, like outside of our classrooms and SMART goals, with what we received as far as state testing data. I am excited about that. From a cultural standpoint, it's one thing to have your own personal goal. It's another thing to put it outside your door and let everybody know. That implies a great deal of courage and intent by our teachers. And I really appreciate that. I think that's best practices. When you're willing to create a safe environment, says this is what I'm working on, I hope you'll work on it with me, and I'll let you know every once in a while how we're doing. I think that's really important. Defer the most facilities to Mr. Wilson. We are continuing to develop bond projects. I included the minutes of, I believe I included the minutes of our last bond project meeting in my notes, but maybe I didn't now that I printed them out. Did meet with the county commissioners today to talk about the code requirements for this project. We've spoken about them ad nauseum. I am optimistic there. Were received very well by the 2 commissioners that were present. John Crenshaw wasn't present today, so they are going to collaborate with him and then their attorney. That will save us about $600,000 or so. We also met with Ron Hoffman today to talk about the fire alarm aspect of that system. Part of the reason I want to save there is we already have an inclement weather shelter here. I would like to direct that a little over $600,000 to things that would benefit our students and our staff more than that redundant system. We want to talk about facilities any more than what's in my report. This would be a good opportunity.
I think anyway.
Athletics and fine arts, I defer to Mr. Minix. I would encourage you to come out for winter sports. It's a great way to spend the evening. We actually have a pretty good festive atmosphere, and I know as we get closer to the Christmas break, that seems to be on everyone's list. So I hope to see you out there. Budget and finance was probably the longest section, especially if you include the data that I put in up above with our personnel. We did send back our draft to the auditors. That'll be ready for the December board meeting. We've already started having discussions about next year's budget and budget cutoffs already. Of particular importance, this was a late ad because I didn't get it until very recently, the last probably 24, 36 hours. Our music insurance, not the insurance we provide as part of healthcare, but insurance from liability standpoint for the district, went up 32 percentage points. So we went from just over $96,000 in annual premiums to a little over $126,000 in annual premiums. Anecdotally speaking, with other superintendents that use music also, between 20 and 45% was the increase from last year to this year. I doubt we'll find a better deal than music. However, I think in order to do my job well, we are gonna do some shopping. And so we've already reached out to a couple of providers, bring them in, see what they can do for us. I'd rather direct that 30 some odd thousand dollars to salaries and benefits than give it to an insurance company. We did pass the, in that next bullet point, there are some, along with music, some budget pressures. The minimum wage increase passed. That's $13.75 this year, $15 next year. That could have as much as a $27,000 impact to next year's budget just for hourly. Now, having said that, all of our folks are above $13.75. So we technically don't need to adjust our salary as of January 1 because everybody's above that. But if we were to have someone come in at a 0 step in one of those areas, we would fall below. So we've got a plan to move that minimum wage schedule or pay schedule up next year. And $13.75 is $27,015 would have a slightly harder hit. Really thought with Senate Bill 727, it was a huge omnibus bill, spent hundreds of millions of dollars. Part of that was increases to our state adequacy target at 6,600 and then 7,145 from the previous 6,375. You would think if we passed that very confidently that would be fully funded. Just let you know, we and other districts across the state are not receiving at this point a full formula payment. So right now, we're collecting below what was promised as the 6670 formula. DESE will tell you they're gonna catch up by the end of the year. I hope that's the case. I got a plan that we may not. And so I'm a little worried about that. Also, we're still focused. There is a mandate that we provide $40,000 as a minimum base salary, which is great. Big supporter of that. But right now, we're funding the bottom part of our pay schedule with the teacher-based salary grant, which is great. I appreciate that. Something to keep in mind, though, is that that's a grant. It could just go away next year. And if we're not funding the formula, then we may not fund the grant. And it's incumbent on us to meet the $40,000 minimum base salary, whether they fully fund the formula or whether they fund the base salary grant. It is a concern. It's a concern across the state, especially with smaller school districts that don't already have a minimum $40,000 base salary. So that's something that's coming our way. I went on to kind of outline that. We'll talk a little bit and kind of let you guys in on what does that do for how attractive we are when your 6-year teacher makes the same thing as a 0-year teacher. We're effectively telling 6 to 10-year teachers we're not a very good place to come. Now, we're as good, we're tied with last place for everybody else from 0 to 5. But again, we're tied for last place. If we moved to $40,000 today, we would be tied for last place with more school districts than we've got fingers. So it's important to note that will be our focus for this coming budget season, redirecting everything we can so that we can stabilize whether the state funds that or not. I did want to add, this was not in my report, but I got an email today regarding our abeyance for the tax issue. The tax issue was to remind you, was from 2019, and it was a failure to file our 1095Cs, which is a form associated with Obamacare. It just ensures that we give employees information regarding our health care and benefits. Our lawyer is drafting an affidavit. I'm going to do a little bit of investigation first, but that affidavit essentially ensures or assures the IRS that we did provide that information. Before I can sign in and send it, I need to talk to a few people and make sure that we provided that. That could be a significant cost. Remember, whether we provided a 1095C or not, did not cost, we didn't owe the IRS any money. What we failed to do 5 years ago now was submit the reports to prove that we were in compliance. And so they fined us a quarter later, and we ignored it. They fined us a quarter later, and we ignored it, and the fines just kept piling up and piling up. Oh, until August of my first year, when we got a lawyer involved. So that could be coming our way also, and that will be a budget pressure. A little bit late addition in there, I also included some options as far as our AV for how we might fund a $40,000 a year jump. If you guys would like to discuss that further, please let me know, or we can do that individually. I think it's worth a discussion, if not now, in the very near future.
Meaning raise the base to 40 grand?
If we were to raise the base to 40 grand and decompress everybody, to make sure that if we raise the base right now, we technically have, but unfortunately for step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they make the same 40. So when
If you raise the base to 40 grand, you're automatically decompressing, aren't you? Of course,
No.
It doesn't affect, how wouldn't it
should.
affect the whole salary schedule? Surely it does.
It should, if you raise it and then decompress. But right now, we've raised it.
What do you
with the
mean by
base salary.
decompress? Maybe I got a semantic problem.
Meaning, step 1 would be 500 more versus the first 5 steps all being the same amount, if that makes sense. So everybody, so that would be a $3,000 a year jump for us right now. Everybody would go up $3,000.
Right. Right, I think what I'm saying, okay.
Gotcha. That would-
Okay, like you said, should we do that, we're no longer, quote, tied with the last place though, are we?
Yeah,
How do you,
because.
what's your definition of last place?
All the other people that have a minimum base salary of 40,000.
But the state is full of schools that don't.
Not full of them,
Well,
but
there's a
there are
whole bunch
probably
of them.
hundreds.
Right, well,
There's-
okay, but I mean, like, that to me is certainly below,
They're only below that if they didn't participate in the.
They either have to participate in the base salary grant.
Mhm.
no, they have the
Fund it.
decompression problem anyway, right? Like, if
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
pretty much everybody accepts a grant, or
Mhm.
they'd be crazy not to, I would think, but like, I mean, to me, if we would raise our, of course, it's a big old if, I mean, I understand, I'm not saying, but like, it would certainly put us ahead of anybody who has to accept the grant to get everybody.
Sure,
That's
right,
what
I
I
see
mean,
where your point
that's what I'm saying.
We would be ahead of those who
Right.
accepted the grant.
This is
didn't
probably,
decompress.
this is probably a discussion for another time. I mean, I get it, like, but like, and it'd be great if we could find a pathway, and I know you want to, and like, if possible, and reasonably. Anyway, go ahead.
Sure. Oh, I don't know where I was going after that, Coach. But I'd be glad to take any questions or comments. I know that's a lot. I am nervous, as many superintendents are across the state. Kerry Monsees generally delivers the State of Union address where finances go. I think he uses a phrase, something similar to, if I had to guess or die, this would be my guess, and he didn't want to guess. We passed an omnibus bill for hundreds of millions of dollars, but it has to go through appropriations. So you can pass a bill that says you must do that, schools, but if the state doesn't fund it, it falls to us and our local taxpayers.
Is there, so we're looking at being competitive with other school districts, and I looked at your thing here. Has there a discussion of, like, them, career ladder is something that is a very attractive item for a lot of districts. $5,000 at 8 years or 7 years, additional on top of what's already being paid. What is it for 3 years? It's 5,000 or something like that. So
You'll see career ladder in my budget proposal this spring, because we've got to pull something out. I agree with you.
Any other questions?
that's all I have.
Thank you. Moving on to action items. First one is approved candidate filing period.
We got a couple board seats that are opening up here in the spring. So each year we're required to have a filing period for that. This year it's December 10th through December 31st, and we're required to be open during our normal business days in that period, with one exception, and this is the anomaly where we have some room. You have to be open that last day, and I think maybe last year it was December 27th or 28th. This year it is December 31st. I don't mind being here all day, quite honestly, but most districts aren't, and most people don't file that last day. Just doing a straw poll of the districts in our conference, we range, most of them, at least half, I would say, are open from 3 to 5 p.m. that last day. About a quarter of them are open from noon to 5 p.m. that last day, and maybe the last quarter, some variation of a full day. I don't think people are gonna be coming in on New Year's Eve, and we'll advertise that as we're required to by law, and there'll be a couple of weeks for folks to come in during our regular business hours. So I proposed, really the big change, or the difference, is that 3 to 5 on December 31st, that we would be open for any late filers.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the candidate filing period?
I move we stay open, the last day, 3 to 5 on December 31st for, candidate filing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Final reading for years of service.
So this is our final reading, so I'm gonna read the amendment, which is number 5 in our list, which essentially moves our recognized years of service from 10 to 20 years, and it reads, experienced teachers who are new to the school district may receive up to 20 years credit for previous experience. If a teacher has taught previously in this district, he or she will receive credit for all of those years within this district, plus up to 20 years for experience in other districts. Teachers accruing more than 20 years of experience in either circumstance may be awarded credit beyond 20 years at the discretion of the Board of Education. Most of this is a change from the number 10 to 20. Shortly after this passes, should you be so inclined to vote it so, I'll send out a survey again so that I can reaffirm those that came in and did not have years of service recognized, and then we would adjust the remainder from here moving forward. I let them know initially that we wouldn't grandfather anybody, but from the moment we pass it, we're gonna honor that moving forward. It's not a ton of money. We don't attract a lot of what I would call mid-range teachers, like 10 to 20, probably because of that policy.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion to approve the amendment?
I move we approve the amendment, the years of service amendment, the increase.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the amended years of service, please say, or please raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion passes. Okay, discussion items, FCCLA.
Hey guys.
Welcome.
Sorry it was a little late, Chelsea. Last week was nuts in my household. Hopefully we settle down now for a little bit. But, alright, so we have about 31 members, which is about what we had last year. We took a pretty big hit losing tons of seniors, strong leaders. And last year was a rebuilding year. This year I've got some kids who are really excited, especially younger ones coming up. So I anticipate us getting more active again outside of just our chapter. This year Charlotte Bell-Smith called me because we do the Osage carrying baskets every year, and we get 10 to 15 of them, and she called me and said that they're in desperate need this year for more. So we've kind of expanded that. I sent it to elementary, middle school, been pushing it a little bit more. My classes are gonna try to do something, so hopefully we get a few more baskets just to help our community, because that's like our big service project for the year. And then I have some kids wanting to compete again in star events. I only had one last year. She did well, and she should have made it to states, but you know, it's always a game with the judges. You never know who you're gonna get and how they're gonna judge you. So hopefully, I know she's competing again, and she wants to make it all the way, of course. So hopefully we do well there. Another thing that we're talking about doing is legislative shadowing. That is just for juniors and seniors who want to go talk to legislators about what we do, whether in the class or in our communities, to try to promote us more. I know I have a couple of them who are that is a harder program to get into. We can only send 2 from our school, so they'll start working on that pretty soon. Otherwise, we're still working as a club in our school more than we are out again, since we lost so many people. Any questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is FFA.
Good evening. I'm Lone Ranger tonight, sorry about that. Sick kiddo at home for Mr. Shepherd. I want to highlight a few of the things that you guys got sent on your report from the other day. I did get to take 5 students to Washington past summer. They had a great time, they learned a lot, they came back with some really awesome ideas to share with the chapter and also with their community. We have some very eager young members and some very eager upperclassmen that are excited for contest season again this year. Kids are really starting to pick that back up. When I first started teaching 5 years ago here, it kind of was on the downfall, and we had maybe 5 teams. Now we're filling busloads and taking a lot of really solid, good teams, and even competing at state very well with those as well. So kids are very eager for that. We had 2 students audition for state chorus this year, and they both made it in, so that was a great honor for them to be able to sing in front of everyone at State FFA Convention in April. Again, we've maxed out our State FFA degrees for the 5th year in a row, I believe. So that is a percentage of how many members we have is how many state degrees we can take in, which is 10%. And every year we have maxed out all of those and even taken some extra applications that are maybe borderline to having enough points. So we are maxing those numbers out, and kids do get recognized on stage at state convention for those as well. We are also hitting our chapter goal that our officers put forth of having 4+ area winning proficiency awards every single year. That is something that kids take pride in outside of school, and they are bringing in lots of, how do I explain this? They're keeping track of like their paychecks, their hours worked. It's a lot of bookkeeping work that they're keeping track of for themselves, so we're giving them that outside experience for that as well, and they're coming in and completing very long, intensive applications for those and spending hours completing those. On top of area proficiency awards, we had a winner selected for our state proficiency in STARS. That means that they won our area, overall everybody in our area, and when we sent them on to state, they interviewed at state with a panel of judges, and she was not selected as our winner in her area, but she did get represented on stage as a top 5 out of 16 areas, which is awesome. We also had members excel at the Missouri State Fair. In the FFA building, if you went to the state fair, we had a student get a reserve champion on an exhibit, and then we also had multiple livestock exhibitors as well that actually got reserve or grand within the FFA division, which is awesome. And then lastly, Classic Buildings, again, we're partnering with them. They let us build sheds 100% at their cost, and then they come and pick them up, and we get to teach kids skills on building. Sorry, Mr. Shepherd usually does that one. And we did make room in that shop this year to do an extra shed. So he has a quite large group in there this year, so we had to make enough projects for everyone. So we made some room, and we are actually building 6 sheds this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of tight in there, but they made it work, for sure. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Yes.
Can I just give a shout out to bartering? That was my first experience. I remember I grew up in the suburbs and in the city, I've lived my entire life. That was awesome. I saw hay bale tossing and line dancing galore, and it was fantastic. So.
Awesome. Good job. Gifted program report.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm Alicia Trusser, the gifted teacher for the district, in case anybody doesn't know already. I'm gonna just share some of the highlights of my board report for this year. And so the first thing is the program currently has 54 students that have been identified as gifted in elementary grades, grades 3 through 5. there's 21 students. In the middle school, grades 6 through 8, there's 9 students, and in the high school, grades 9 through 12, there's 24 students. The state requirements for the minimum number of minutes for instruction time is still 150 minutes per week, so that hasn't changed. And we kept our gifted schedule, and the structure of the class is the same as last year, so nothing there has changed. The screening process and the screening tools we've been using are still the same as last year. That means universal screening and further evaluation still occur, and students must meet the criteria in 3 of 4 areas in order to qualify for the program. So if we skip down to the next last paragraph, there's some new information there. I've been completing the Missouri Education Self-Assessment Tool each year as part of an annual self-evaluation for the program. I've been continuing to review our old document, which is the Osage R2 Gifted Program Quality Assurance Plan. That was a district document that I've been trying to update, and actually I'm going to move to just a program guidelines document and kind of incorporate more things into that. Been continuing to develop the curriculum. Some of the new topics that the students have been working on since last year are ancient civilizations and board game design. Some other new units that we'll be working on are the science of caves, automatons, mysterious creatures, and future city design. Then again, also students regularly complete activities related to engineering design, extended thinking strategies, real world problem solving, and STEM challenges. They really love those, as well as creative and research writing, like creative writing and writing based on research. During the all group time that we have on Friday afternoons, they do a lot of work with SEL activities, which would be the social emotional learning aspect of being a gifted child, and several other activities. Over the summer, I did some professional development for Gifted. I went to 3 workshops for the Gifted program leaders, and I continue to help provide support for teachers in their classroom and take referrals from them each year for students that they recommend for the program. I'm hoping at some point in the future to take the Gifted kids on a field trip. It would be like related to one of the units that they study, give them some more experience and do something outside of school, some more direct learning, experiential learning. I recently wrote a grant that I also, since I wrote this report, found out I received the grant for $700 for a 3D printer that came from
awesome.
the Coca-Cola company in Jefferson City, the Granting Wishes program that they do each year. So we received that money, and so hopefully the students will be able to do some really cool things. I think the 3D printer will really help with when they come up with an idea and make a prototype or something for it, then that really would help with that, I think. And there's all kinds of other stuff they can do with that as well. So.
Awesome.
Are there any questions?
I did have one.
Yeah.
It seemed like we went up in high school. Like for some reason, I felt like we kind of tapered as far as elementary to middle last year that we talked about that. But now it seems like our high school, we have average 7 per class elementary, 8 per class high school, 3 per class middle school. Did you notice any trend in that shift?
The numbers are about the same, and so yeah, the numbers are about the same. There was one grade level that had several in it that moved to that 9th grade instead of like the lower. So I don't know. Some years have more students and fewer students, so it might have been something to do with that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, second reading, the transportation changes.
So there hasn't been any changes to that language since our first reading. It still includes the addition where we'll create a procedure to accommodate alternate transportation requests under those conditions. No additional cost to the district. Can it create an undue burden to operations and ensures the safety of all students and staff. We'll still take that recommendation and include a siblings clause in there so that younger kids can go with their older siblings.
Sounds good. 8.5 website updated format. How are you today, Eric?
Doing all right. Spoke to Mr. James. We had, we originally set up this new website probably, I was looking probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it really hasn't changed much since then. So I kind of reached out to our website vendor to see if there's any updates or anything like that we can do to kind of update things, make things a little easier. This is the current website now. It's got this drop-down menu that has pretty much links to all the information that you can look up. Is in this drop-down menu. We've got the buttons here: live feed, news stories, calendar. So what they kind of we spoke to the principals and Mr. James about some options they had. Here's like one option that we're kind of leaning towards our different options that we can do for it. Is we're adding a section in the upper right, just kind of some quick links to, these aren't the actual names that it's going to be, this is just kind of a generic template that they kind of made up for us. So at the top, we'll just kind of have probably be similar to this, kind of have a students, parents, admission, enrollment kind of section up there, just kind of quick links there. And then instead of having that one drop-down menu with like everything that you have to scroll all the way down to, the menus will kind of be broken out across the top here. So we'll have like district, high school, middle school, elementary, athletics, that kind of thing. So it'll be kind of broken up here, a little easier to find, so you don't have to scroll down the big list of things. Update pictures with current current students and stuff, kind of keep that. Keep kind of our few buttons there. News and live feed and calendar, be a little bit different, a little bit changed look, but still all there. And then a little section at the bottom that will kind of put some kind of quick little facts about the district and some more pictures there. But like I said, not a major change, but just some updates, but mainly kind of the menus here to kind of make it a little bit more usable. So.
Eric, who's helping you with that?
This is our website vendor that does this. They host it and they manage it, and they do all the templates and stuff. So we just go in and we just update content.
What's the company called?
Aptigee. Yeah, they do our website, and they also do our alert system, text alerts and stuff like that. And our mobile app is through them too. So.
A little more updated, modern look. I think with the moving, scrolling pictures there, I think it looks a little bit more interactive. We're hoping to put the information that people are most interested in getting right up there at the top, so that you're looking at it as soon as you get there. And then outside of that, it's just really kind of to update it.
So they're just updating the links and the look?
Yeah, mostly just kind of these menus at the top and here. Most of the middle section, it looks a little different, but it's kind of the same content basically. And then in this kind of little section at the bottom with some kind of, but that's, like I said, nothing major, but just kind of some menus to kind of help people be able to find.
So they're not
information.
looking through like outdated documents that are sitting out there, or documents that are listed in multiple places?
I mean, that's on us to kind of watch and watch. But yeah, they just kind of do like the formatting of it. It's kind of up to us to kind of manage the actual content on it.
This will be a great opportunity for us to do an audit, because we find old things that we don't necessarily pay attention to. Not often, but occasionally we find some old stuff in there.
That's everybody. Thank you.
Looks good. Thank you. District ARP rating?
And similar, the APR rating is very similar to
APR.
that. The ARP rating is just a version of that for older readers. So we did receive our APRs, our annual performance rating. So did everyone else from the state. And there'll be some more information that comes out here pretty quick. In our conference, we did pretty well, but we also did pretty well. We're not where we want to be, especially in terms of academic performance. We had some improvement. We also had some drops in student achievement, but overall we moved the ball, so to speak, 3.7% to the positive. And speaking with other superintendents in regional and state meetings, the vast majority of school districts either stayed the same, and a very common report at this point is folks going 3 to 5% backwards. And so we managed to move forward 3.7%. Did better at the elementary than we did at the high school this year, with the elementary moving forward 6.2%, the high school moving backwards 0.2 or 0.2%, which is kind of negligible, but it's still not where we want to be because we're working awfully hard for improvement, not remaining the same. We are ranked second in our conference. I'll tip our hat to Eugene schools. They beat us out. They're just over 90% with their APR. Where we really did well was not necessarily our student achievement. We had some bright spots there again, but we also have some spots that need a great deal of work. But our continuous growth, which is a measurement of the best practice strategies that we are using to improve instruction, if that makes sense. So when they audit our plan and look at what we're doing, then they determine whether or not that is worthy of merit and should bear fruit or results. And we scored really high there. Some of our content level scores, we have the greatest opportunity for growth in our ELA and our small group there. We were at 50% of the points earned. Status in science for all students was also 50%, and growth was 25%. So science was our greatest opportunity there, with the other opportunities being for our small group testers. And to give you an idea where you see that cell size in the report that I gave you, that means that there weren't enough students that tested to be statistically significant. We've already met with principals and staff. We've already began moving our professional development and our goals for the spring and our school and district improvement plans towards what we received in terms of those APR scores. Most of the folks in our conference are in the 60s and 70s. There might be one other school district that's in the 80s. Other than that, I think we're a good 8 or 10 points behind third place and just barely behind first place. Of schools in Osage County, I do believe we're still the #1 rated school in Osage County. I don't know that for certain though, but if I had to bet, I would guess that we are still the #1 rated in terms of APR. I do think it's important to balance that message. While you're doing, APR isn't everything. It's one test, one day. It's not indicative of how we're doing across the board, but it is one measure. I think taking anything that we're doing a little bit better on and celebrating that is a pathway to celebrating larger and larger things and more of them over time. So I am proud of the work that our teachers are doing, proud of the work that our administrative team is doing. And just to give you a short story, I promise it'll be short. They sent us out a message that said, hey, you're not gonna get these scores. We had an issue with it, and that was early in the week that we received them. So I ended up going to Central State 8 meeting on that Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's a Wednesday. And when I get there, they're talking about their AP scores, which made me panic a little bit because I thought, wait a minute, they said on Monday they said we weren't gonna get them, and I haven't received an email. And they said, well, they got them to us this morning. I didn't have my login credentials in my phone, so I could not pull them up when I was at the meeting in Columbia. And so all I heard was all the other superintendents talking about staying the same or going backwards, with one exception, and that was Eugene. So I was really, really anxious all the entire meeting while I was there, and the entire meeting, or the entire time it took me to drive back. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see that not only did we not go backwards, we actually moved the ball and we went forward as a district. It's a small win, but I'll take it. Small wins take a lot of work, and we've been doing a lot of work.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you. Next discussion item, minimum wage.
Maybe I should have just included this on my report. I probably talked about that longer than I should have. Went up to $13.75 as of January 1. All of our employees are above that, but January 1 of 2026, it goes to $15 an hour. We're pretty close to surpassing that as well. We will have to adjust our salary schedules. That'll be a part of my budget presentation in the spring, and we'll have to balance that effort with all of the rest of the efforts that we'll have to make on this year's or next year's budget.
Thank you. Is there anything else? I guess our next regularly scheduled meeting is for December 19th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Is that still a go for everybody? That would be the Thursday, the final week before Christmas. That's good.
Good for me.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Can I read this, or read us? There's some more
Yes,
stuff
sir.
on here.
Just that one that's,
Is that all right?
thank you.
I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant of RSMO 610.021 ASD subsections 13 relative to personally identifiable employment information.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Brad?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you.